Have you seen a bunch of Medusa tattoos trending on TikTok and in other social media platforms? Well, they're saying some part of the truth, but they're not telling you the story of Medusa, so let me explain. Hey there, welcome to the video. My name is Miggy. I'm a tattoo artist from the north coast of Spain, specialized in line work tattoos of mythology, with a focus on mental health and how these symbols can help us have a better life. And recently I was tattooing in Madrid as a guest, and this client came to me. He wanted a tattoo design of Medusa he saw on my Instagram. So the day of the appointment, the guy pulled up to the studio and he asked me whether this tattoo represented something his friend had seen on TikTok. So I wanted to talk about this trend and the real story of Medusa. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna break it down for you, don't worry. So basically, recently in TikTok, in recent months, not just now, there's been a trend saying that Medusa tattoos represent that someone was a victim of assault. So my client was asking me whether a Medusa tattoo actually represents this, and if getting it means that you were assaulted against your will. And I answered my client the best way I could, saying it depends on the meaning you give the tattoo. Tattoos are symbols, they're art, and they don't have a fixed meaning. So tattoos mean whatever you want them to mean. The same symbol, the same image, the same tattoo, same design literally, can mean different things for different people. So if you want a tattoo of Medusa to represent that it's sunny outside, it can represent that. If you want it to represent this thing we're talking about, it can represent that. It's whatever you want it to represent, it will represent. However, we're not gonna skip the obvious. Some stories are linked to some symbols. So for example, a tattoo of a sun probably represents the sun. So the story of some mythological creatures is more prone. It's easier to give it a certain meaning than others. So today we're gonna analyze the real story of Medusa, because people are not actually talking about it. And we're gonna think what meanings we can derive from the story. Okay, so let's get with the story of Medusa to understand what this really is about. Medusa was the daughter of the two primordial sea deities, Phorcys and Ceto. And unlike her other two siblings, she was born a normal and mortal child. Her sisters, Steno and Uriel, were Gorgons, women with serpent features. These would be manifested later in Medusa's life, as she's mainstreamly portrayed as a woman with snakes instead of hair. However, for now, Medusa was just a normal and astonishingly beautiful girl. She was intensely devoted to the goddess Athena and took the vow of celibacy, and it was a requirement to be one of her priestesses. Time passed as Medusa became a great priestess at the temple, totally devoted to Athena and rejecting all the male attention she received. The legend says that Medusa was so beautiful that even the goddess Athena herself became concerned that a portion of the people who attended her temple only did it so they could admire the young priestess Medusa. Meanwhile, in the Greek pantheon, rivalry only grew between Poseidon and Athena. Medusa's popularity had grown so much that he had even reached the gods, and in an attempt to disrupt his rival Athena, Poseidon decided to make Medusa of his own. While the young priestess, full of devotion for Athena and for her vow of celibacy, managed to reject even the divine charm of Poseidon, he just wouldn't accept that and took her against her will. She ran to Athena's temple, since that was the only place on earth she thought she could be safe from Poseidon. This didn't work, and Poseidon managed to disrupt Athena even more by assaulting her most popular priestess inside her own temple and making her pregnant. When Athena found out, she completely blamed Medusa for not being a virgin anymore and punished her, even though the event with Poseidon had happened against her will. Medusa was also carrying now the offspring of Athena's biggest rival, Poseidon, which didn't make the situation any better for her. Athena punished Medusa, and the once beautiful woman had now become a monster with a nest of snakes instead of hair. To make sure she wouldn't captivate anyone else, a curse was set on her, so anyone who would look into her eyes would be immediately turned into stone. This curse ensured Medusa spent the rest of her days alone. Medusa's sisters tried to help her, But Athenia put the same punishment on them as well, becoming the 3 famous gorgons with snake hair that we all know from Greek mythology. As time went by, Medusa's attitude turned into what her appearance suggested. She just turned a monster. She was not the object of desire for men anymore, but she had turned into a trophy for them to hand. Medusa managed to easily destroy anyone who dared to challenge her, and her legend became spread across all the kingdom. One day, a young man called Perseus decided to take the quest to eliminate Medusa, but he was not just a young man. He had divine heritage as he was the son of Zeus. Athenia granted him a mirrored bronze shield. Hermes granted him winged sandals. Hephaestus granted him a powerful sword, and Hades a helm of invisibility. Armed with all this equipment, Perseus could look at Medusa mirroring his shield and avoid becoming a statue. He managed to slay her head, and in that precise moment, the 2 children she was carrying as a result of the event with Poseidon appeared. One of them was a worldwide known white and winged stallion, Pegasus, and the other was Caesar, who was born with a golden sword in his hands. After Perseus defeated Medusa and cut her head off, he left the island Medusa lived in and used her head as a weapon to turn his enemies into stone. Then he handed Athenia the head, and she fixed it into her shield, becoming now a powerful and worldwide known symbol of protection known as the Aegis. Okay, so now we know the whole story of Medusa, we can derive some meanings from it. To begin with, the obvious one, the one that is going trendy, is that Medusa was assaulted, so people are using it as a symbol to claim that they were also assaulted and gain their strength back and own their stories. And that's a really powerful symbol for people who underwent this kind of events. However, we can derive more meanings from Medusa. For example, we can see how in her story, she went from being beautiful and charming to being a monster who was rejected by everyone. This was caused by a traumatic experience she experienced actually. So one meaning we can derive from Medusa is actually becoming aware when these things happen to us. Not necessarily this type of event that happened to her, but when something traumatic happens to us, we can actually be conscious of it and try to have a good life after it. Even though something bad happened to us, Medusa tattoo can be a cool reminder to be conscious of it, so it doesn't bring our lives down and we can live a good life even after it. Another meaning we can derive from the story of Medusa is doing what you like, because life is short, so if some event changed her life, something could happen to us tomorrow. So a cool meaning we could get from the story of Medusa is doing what you love, as she chose to be a priestess of Athenia. Finally, I haven't seen anyone talking about this meaning of Medusa, but I think you will like it, which is inner way to mental health and to living a better life. There's going to be some obstacles. These obstacles are overwhelming usually, and they can make us feel paralyzed as we could be after looking in Medusa's eyes. So a Medusa tattoo could be a cool reminder that you should stand up by yourself and face your obstacles, face your struggle, and not let it ruin your life. You have to stand up by yourself and experience a good life, embrace positivity, and be happy. Hey, this is the end of the video. If you wanna learn how mythology tattoos can help us with mental health and how to live a better life with them, I recommend you follow my channel because this is what it is about. Yeah, not much to say. Thank you for watching and I'll see you later.